Every individual has a story, a mixture of scars and victories. No one can ever be fully prepared for life. No one can ever be fully prepared for the twists of fate. Coming to you on your Women Radio 91.7 FM, Toun Okewale Sonaiya will be engaging the ones that are bold enough to bear it all. Only on TounTalks, Sundays, 5 p.m. on your Women Radio 91.7 FM.
Caring for special needs children can be overwhelming. From struggling to find the right healthcare and education to dealing with stigma and cultural misconceptions, many families, especially mothers, are left feeling isolated. The system, the people are not always kind, are not always understanding. It takes a kind of special care and extra love to truly care and love for special needs children. On TounTalks today, we will be navigating the discussion, special care, extra love. And I am privileged to sit down with two incredible women, Aminat Jumai Gimba and Bisola Olufolajimi Idowu. Jumai, who sadly lost her child, will share how caregiving shaped her life and how she's found strength in the midst of grief. And Bisola, who raised her child as a single mother and went on to start a school for special needs children. We also talk about her inspiring journey to make a difference. This is a conversation about love, a conversation about resilience, and what it truly means to care for someone with your whole heart. I am Toun Okewale Sonaiya. This is TounTalks. Now, if you are in Lagos and Ogun State, please tune in to 91.7 FM on your radio. We are Women Radio. We're Nigeria's only radio station for women and their families. And for anywhere else in the world, we live stream at wfm917.com. And TounTalks, as I'm speaking, is live on YouTube at Women Radio 91.7, where you can also drop your comments and questions. And you can also give us a call or send your thoughts through the phone lines. The phone lines will be scrolling as I'm speaking. You can send it and talk to my friends. So I'm going to start with you, Jumai. I'm going to call you Jumai. I know people call you Amina. Me, I know you as Jumai. We went to school together. I've been to Mina, by the way, to spend time with you. Jumai, I want you to talk about what you understand by this extra love, special care we're talking about. I want you to talk about Farid.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your program. Extra care, special love, extra care. It's very apt for me. I have a son. I had a son whose name was Mohammed Farid. He died last year. And having him is love itself. Knowing Farid was love itself. Having a child with special needs, for those of us who have had, and for those of us who are advocates who haven't had, but have come in close contact with children with special needs or disabilities, you know, having them, they're harmless, they're just daring, you know, they're dear to your heart. And Farid came into our lives and he seeped into our hearts, and loving him was really, really effortless. As a family and as a community, many people who came across us because of Farid, or even we have known for ages, as soon as Farid came into our life, it took a new dimension, really, special disabilities. And because of that, we were able to like fix ourselves into a society that needed such love at that material time. And going forward, we've been given that love. So I don't know. I don't know how to talk about Farid without really linking it with love from the bottom of our hearts, basically. But that's just it.
Jumai, see how you told this story in like 2 minutes, just in 2 minutes, and you nearly teared up there. And please, Jumai, you're allowed to tear up here. You are very much allowed to tear up. So Farid died last year after how many years?
Farid was 22. Farid was born on the 29th of October 2001. I gave birth to him in Mina, and it was a normal birth, But then I know I went over a period of maybe 11 hours of labor, and he was a big baby. He was 4.2. Farid was 4.2, but he was a beautiful baby. He came out big, he came out light in complexion. But as soon as I gave birth to him, not quite like 3 hours, we knew something was wrong because he wasn't breathing okay. So I took him to the pediatrician and we spent 7 days. From the first day Farid was born, Farid was in and out of hospitals. And we spent all those like up to 10 years in and out of hospitals. So if someone asked me yesterday if I was a doctor, I said, no, I'm not a doctor. I read English. But, being around what happened to Farid, all the code blues and whatever, made all the medical terminologies, I can just maybe read them off the back of my head like that. So when I gave birth to him, someone just told me, do you know anyone out of this country? And my heart skipped. But then again, we took him and he was okay for the first few months. But I met someone who actually looked at me and he said, have you taken your child to a special school? And that was when he was 4 years. And I said, no. And I looked at her and she was a Jewish lady I met in the lift like that. And she was, oh, please do take him to a special school. I had to ask her what was wrong with my son. And that was the beginning of the journey for me, trying to look for how to look after Farid and make him okay. So yeah, I can talk on and on. And so many who know me know the story because I've never hidden my story. I've never hidden Farid from anybody, from family, from the public. I went everywhere with him. I knew going out with him was a joy for him. He loved the car ride. When he's crying, that was one of the ways I pacified him to stop crying because he could cry for hours and I could get to you. So.
Thank you, Jumai. We're going to talk about that because I remember there was a time I asked you, Jumai, do you sleep at all? But we will get to that. Let me come to you, Bisola. Bisola, thank you for doing this with us. Bisola, tell us your extra love, extra care, special care story.
Okay, Toun, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me here. I had my son at around 34 years, and it was a joy. It was a beautiful baby. He is a beautiful baby. And what happened? Okewale Sonaiya was also 4.2, big baby. I am a small woman with a very small cervix. And birthing him was a beautiful experience for me. Even from when I was pregnant with him, it would kick, I love to listen to Christian music. And it will kick. So it was a joy. I was looking forward to that, to experiencing motherhood. So his birth was, what was it called now? Called birth aphasia. He came out not having enough oxygen, into him. But from the very moment I held the Okewale Sonaiya in my hand, I know that is loving him just transcend every and any other thing. So I was ready to go above and beyond for him. And yes, going above and beyond for him also gave me that strength that I needed. It was fun. It was scary. It was fun. It was a mixture of everything, and yet it was a beautiful, scenic route for us. Yes.
Okewale. So Okewale, you were still very much, we still have Okewale with us, right?
Yes, he's still very much here. He's here. He's 13 years old this year.
Oh, This is fantastic. Thank you very much. You know, as I mentioned, I have a lot to ask you ladies about, because it's important for people to understand what it takes to raise is that, you know, the strength and the extra care and love and the special love that it takes to have a special needs child. I have two goddaughters that have special needs, and I look at their mothers. You know, I look at their mothers, and I just marvel at how they do it. What, you know, how they just go about it is beyond me. And I'm just hoping that people that are listening, everybody that is listening, will pick up one or two things. Let me start by asking. I know that I don't know. I feel, because I know Jumai, and I have two other friends, that raising a child with special needs can transform every aspect of one's life. I want you to, I know you've given us about 2-3 minutes of 20 something years of your life and 13-14 years of Ogolua's life. Reflect on how this journey has shaped your relationship. Jumai, I'm coming to you first. How raising Farid has changed your relationship, how it has changed your career, how it has changed where you are today. What unexpected lessons have you learned along the way? I'm coming to you, Jumai, and Bisola, you would have your time to respond to this as well.
Yeah, thanks to, you know, just like anybody, I always tell people, you know, Farid fell on our laps. I've always had one thing with people that were different. I had a sister, she died last year as well in August, so some few months apart with Farid, who was autistic, but we didn't really know it was autism, you know. So, but having Farid made me to key in to a lot of things. People, just like I said, he endeared himself to our hearts. He endeared himself to people's lives, people's hearts. But it opened up our eyes to a lot of things that we took for granted. You know, I had two children before Farid. I had two girls before Farid. So from between the first and him is 14 years. Between the first and the second is 7 years. So there's that gap. You know, so I knew what a healthy baby was, and I knew what the joy of motherhood was. But his was different, you know. And wherever I went with him, people were always asking me, oh, who is this handsome boy? Who is this beautiful boy? Who is this? And because he was non-verbal, he would just smile or he would laugh. He had the kind of way of laughing like that, you know. So he taught me patience. I've always been someone who is always on the go, you know. I don't slow down. And so, but having Farid slowed me down. It didn't slow me down in a negative way. It gave me more patience. It made me to be more observant of people's behavior. When I was in school, I did psychology for a few years. So I don't know, I should have continued, because one of the professors told me then I should have gone into that field. But then it made me to, having Farid made me to study people and made me to have patience, not just with myself, but it had made me to have patience with the next person right next to me. So that taught me a lot on how to go into this community that I came into, and this community that I embraced, because it's something that I enjoy doing, caring for people, being that person who listens, you know. So it gave me that perspective to life. It made me to love unconditionally, and it made me to be kind. I needed to be kind, not just to myself first. I needed to be kind to the next person. All this having Farid taught me. It made our family dynamics to change. I moved around. I lived in Enugu for 2 years. I lived in UK. All this was because of Farid. I went to Lagos, you know, just trying to look for what to do to help my son to be independent. So it made me come in contact with a lot of people, even that were not relations, that were not blood, but then they became my relations because of Farid. So you see, the dynamics of living, of forming a community, I owe it to Farid, really. And I had an understanding husband, you know, and I had him beside me to give me all the help, all the support, the leverage to be able to live with Farid. But at the same time, we had to come and make that conscious effort, not just to live for Farid, but to live for our other kids as well, so that at least, because it makes you want to forget sometimes. You think you are just in that space and it's only him, but it wasn't only him. Well, he made us to come together. The bonding became greater. I mean, I think my daughters even loved Farid more than I did.
Thank you, Jumai. Bisola, I'm coming to you. Did Ogolua changed your relationship in any way at all? Did you learn patience as well? Did Ogolua teach you how to be kind? You know, what is your story of relationship as it relates to Ogolua? Were people unkind? You know.
Okay, my own story is very different. With Ogolua, he taught me a lot of patience. He taught me, and he's still teaching me, a whole lot of patience with myself, with the world at large. But yes, it did change a lot. People were really unkind to me. Very unkind. It started from my immediate family. I experienced a lot of segregation from having him. I had to leave my very lucrative career to starting my own business, which in a way it was a business, a blessing in disguise. But I chose to be kind, even when people were unkind to me in raising my son. I chose to make an impact because I know that there were lots of other women that was going through this. I'm a medical student. I finished from Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Luti Diaraba. And whilst I may not have experienced cerebral palsy, I did experience it in my church volunteering work that I did working with Modupe Kola at the time. So I didn't particularly, have that idea that, parents with children with special needs were segregated against. There is even a lot of myth and belief around you using your child to do money rituals or using your child for one thing or the other. There was a lot that I had to go through emotionally, and with Pharaoh as well, like I mentioned, it was really difficult. But again, I chose a more beautiful path. And again, I'm grateful to God. Madam Miss Samina, she mentioned that she studied psychology. Psychology was one of my main courses as a medical student. So I was able to navigate the emotional part of it quickly, take it away from myself and focus more on my son. So it wasn't I didn't self-sabotage myself nor the child, because I know it wasn't the fault of the child. I knew that this was supposed to be, and then there was supposed to be a calling. In fact, I saw it as a calling, a means to an end, a means to be able to show forth what God can do through Ogolua Pharaoh, through me as his mother. And that was what I started. I focused on him, and we ensured that in this next 7 years of his life, he was able to start walking. The doctor report was like, he's never going to walk, he's not going to talk, he's not going to, there was a lot of he cannot do's that they listed for us. But we broke those milestones. Today, Ogolua Pharaoh is in GSS 2, he's striving. His speech is a bit slurred, but he's talking. And, like I mentioned, all those negativity that we experience from his childhood, like from his baby stage up until his toddler stage, became more or less like a foundation for us to, encourage other parents that came to the school or the center, because we also have an NGO, we have the school. And, every time they see other people's children in the school, they're like, oh my God, and we've taken that, we've used the lemons to make lemonades and to enrich our life as well as enrich other people's lives. Yes.
Thank you, Bisola. Thank you, Bisola. Two different worlds, and it really it would break one's heart to hear that you were excluded by family, by friends, by the society. People were unkind to you simply because you have a special needs child, which anybody could have. But, I'm hoping that by the end of today, we will be able to let people know that at least it could be you, and you have to be kind to people. Now, we are live on Women Radio 91.7. We're on YouTube. You can join us at Women Radio 917. You can now send your messages. You can call 07000 917 917. 07000 917 917. There's a toll-free number for women only. 08000 0800 123 5917. 0800 123 5917. And SMS and WhatsApp 0703 175 6537 08155 917 917. All these numbers are scrolling on the YouTube, so feel free to join us. Now, Jumai spoke about a supportive husband. I want to come to you, Bisola. We know that having a supportive family, you've spoken about how overwhelming it could be. And we know that having a supportive partner can make a world of difference. I want you to share your experience of navigating the challenges and joy of raising Ogolua. Did your husband, did your partner support you?
Well, from the point Ogolua was born, there was a lot of family disagreements. There was a lot. So basically, he did not.
Let me interrupt. This disagreement, is it about Ogolua? Did you know that Ogolua was going to be special needs before?
Nobody knew. It was
okay.
There was no, what's it called? There's no medical.
So the disagreement was something else entirely.
Okay, so we were pregnant really early on in the marriage, and when the birth of Ogolua Pharaoh came, maybe 6 months, 7 months into the marriage, so the family were like, okay, we've never had a child.
Let me help. Okay, go on.
We've never had a child with a disability before in our family. Where did you come with this kind of child? What is this? So when the family's voice was very strong, it tends towards that. It was a bit more, what's it called, and that kind of broke up the marriage, because there was a lot of people speaking into the marriage. This is what you need to do with the child. Go and dump him in a center. You need to move on. There was a time that they suggested that we should do mercy killing. There was a time that they said, okay, you know what? Let's just let's just end it. Let's just So there was no support. I've never had any support.
And this is from him, his family, or your family, that you should feel the child?
His family was strongly against it. I remember an incident where one of the family member took my son, right? And Ogolua Pharaoh was 6 months at that time, and he threw the baby up. My son was a bit floppy at that time, and if you know what hypotonia is, that is a low muzzle tone. He had low muzzle tone at that point. So they threw him up and said, hey, what kind of child is this? What's it called is this? And the person stepped away. When you throw a baby up, you're supposed to catch the baby or get the baby caught. And then he stepped away, and I was the one that had to quickly run to grab the baby. So there was a lot of trauma, because I didn't at that time, I didn't understand what was going on. Ogolua Pharaoh is my first son. I've never had, experience what's being a mother
in all
to
of
a healthy
this,
baby.
Bisola, in all of this, Bisola, what did Ogolua Pharaoh's father, what did he do when the family were coming up with this kind of attitude? What did he do?
He's the first son.
Okay.
He's a first son, and he really, really loved his family. And again, I can't. The choices was his, So he decided on what he wanted to do. There was no support. At the point, the only help he did was to get us one of his friends that he works in an hospital. Get us one of his friends that is a physiotherapist to come to the house. But after that, he never really rendered any help.
So all the sleepless nights, all the raising, giving the extra care, attention. Obviously, Ogulua probably won't even know when he wants to. He can't show any form of expression. All of the stress and the you were managing this alone.
I was managing it. I was working my career at a point. In fact, I had to resign that particular career because of Ogulua Pharaoh. I had to.
Did you have other children with Ogulua's father?
Okay. I did. And I went on 2 years after to have Ogulua Yimika and another 3 years to have Ogulua Damisire.
Were they special needs as well?
Yes, we were advised they don't have their neurotypical.
So how did their father handle? How did he manage? How was his relationship with them?
I think the foundation was wrong from the onset. So the family advised that we should go ahead and have another baby as soon as possible to mend the marriage. So which we did, and we had another baby. When we had the second baby, instead of the whole thing to resolve, it's further, just make everything a bit more.
Thank you, Bisola. So I just got a comment. I'm coming to you. Before I come to you, Jumai, there's a comment here. It says, "Good evening, Toun. I can relate with the second speaker, that's Bisola. I can relate with Bisola on segregation. I went to 13 different schools before my Mariam was accepted. People can be really unkind. At one point, the child said, 'Mommy, please stop taking me to where I am not wanted.' It broke my heart hearing such words. Thank you very much for sending that message in. Again, the numbers are on the screen on YouTube Live. Feel free to join us. Feel free to phone in if you want to be part of this. Feel free to phone in or send messages to encourage Bisola and also support, and encourage Jumai for being strong. Thank you. Jumai, how supportive was your husband? Jumai, can you unmute? Thank you.
Right from day one, he was supportive. I told you when I gave birth to Fari, he was such a big, beautiful baby. We didn't really know something was wrong with him, and that's why I can relate with what Ogolua's mom is saying. I was told at one point to go and throw him in the river, and when I leave him in the river, and if we go back the next day to go and check on him, if we don't see him, the spirits have taken away their child. I had all that backlash. We did. But my husband kept telling me, if you listen to all that rubbish, you are in trouble. Because you're on your own. So we didn't go down that route. So I'm so sorry, where I sit, and when so many parents come to me, we share a lot with mothers, especially. And the stigma of having a child with special needs, the stigma of having a child with disabilities, mostly is the woman. And they tell you, you went out in the night, you stepped on the spirits, they are angry, you stepped on their children, and all that. I had all that. I had so many people bringing so much rubbish to me to be able to take care of him, rub this on him, give him this to drink, all that, But we have chosen, just like you have a school now, we have chosen not to listen. We have chosen to make them know that these are children. And that's why this part of my advocacy that I'm doing after Farid, especially, it's stronger now at the Farid Center. I've gone all out. I have to tell people these are children, these are human beings born like you and I. It's just the misfortune of either the chromosomal makeup or probably like the shortness of oxygen. And that can happen to any human being, even at any other later stage in their lives. It's not even just from birth. Someone can have an accident and he becomes paraplegic. Someone can have a fall, or you're sitting down and your BP has gone up, has shot up to a certain distance that later, if you come out of it, maybe because of the damages that it has caused, you need that care. So I'm also in care with NSCC, National Senior Citizens Center. So I'm in care of the elderly as well. So it's two-pronged for me. I'm endeared to that because of my care for Farid. And that's why I'm training a lot of caregivers. We do home visits for the elderly. We do home visits for people with disability, and we do counseling. So because we do need that counseling aspect, really, going forward. We need to see how we can come together and make sure that our senses are not taken away with us. So my husband has given me all that support. And I encourage couples when they come. Some they hear, some they don't hear. But we tell them, please try as much as you can. This situation isn't in your hands. I've got parents who have 3 children who are autistic, so a lot is involved. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have a message here. Ngozi says, at a point, I want to kill myself. There are days going to bed and praying, please, I want to wake up in the morning. And then I wake up in the morning, I'm so sad that I am alive again to handle another day of stress, of trauma, of pain. So I want to come to you again, Bisola. What would you say to that comment that just came from Ngozi?
Ngozi, I need you to find something that you can hold on to. And that's something, I don't know, maybe you're a Christian, it should be God. God first, then your son or your daughter. Because if you believe and you hold on to God, every other thing will ease out for you. But you cannot make it about yourself. I know how painful this can be, or this stage that you are can be. But you need to hold on to God. You need to go really run into Him and then start seeing the cues. That solution in your child. He has the solution. You're not the one living with the disability. It is the child. So you have to find a way to see the cues, the small, little, tiny little cues that is giving you, is showing you, and is already showing you from, I don't know how old the child is right now, but they will show you in their sights. They will show you in their gestures. Start to understand the child. Once you understand the child, then you now start to make it more about your child. Refocus on the child and then hold on to God. Hold on to God, and every other thing will become as simple and as easy as can be.
Thank you very much, Jumai and Bisola. This is TounTalks on Women Radio 91.7. Please keep the comments coming in, especially to encourage my two friends there, and share your own thoughts as well of how you've been able to cope, how you've been able to overcome, and what you would like people, how you would like people to address you. These are comments from YouTube. Unstoppable with Janice, that's the name. Says, well done for enriching other people's lives via your experience. Thank you, Jumai. Thank you, Bisola, for saying this. Dr. Hadiza D. Abdullahi from YouTube says, we've all been through that too. Stigma. It is very common. Very few of us were lucky not to pass through this. Thank you very much. Bisola, I want to come to you. Jumai just said that she had a supportive husband. We heard you, Jumai, also talking about your children supporting. I actually went to Mina, Niger State once to spend time with Jumai. And honestly, at every point in time, I see Jumai as a superwoman. And you are a superwoman to Bisola, because I could see how she doted and gave attention to Farid. I saw how she also, managed and gave attention to the other girls, the other children. I met the husband, and Jumai also took me on a visit, because I also did a few visits in Niger State. She drove me around, and in my head I'm like, how is this girl doing it? I would have cracked, So for me, I want to ask you, because support systems, and this is to you, Bisola, can be a lifeline for people with special needs. I want you to take me through a moment when your community, you've spoken about the family of your husband, you know, I want you to talk about the community, even the church, because you spoke about church, and Jumai will talk about the faith, the Islamic faith, and the people in her network. How did they come through for you? Were those experiences, how do they shape your journey? Because people need to understand that sometimes when you don't talk, may also be negative, you know, and sometimes when you don't talk, it could be a way of embracing you. So I wanted to talk about how the support system, was it a lifeline for you or was it disaster for you, Bisola?
Thank you, Toun. I'm so grateful to the church community. I'm grateful to Daystar Oluwura. I'm grateful to Mama Bidemi Makmodi. I'm grateful to everybody that was there for me. My Madam BC Adebayo, I'm so grateful to you. I'm grateful to these people because, believe me, I would also have entered a state of depression if I did not have Madam BC, Mama Bidemi Makmodi, and a host of other, strong Christian women behind me, because I was able to leverage on their strength. They were able to understand what I was going through. And I remember when Pharaoh used to have these very massive seizures. And every time he has seizures, what they call convulsion, it will take away all the ability, all the milestones that we've achieved. I remember vividly Mama Bidemi Makmodi holding my hand, and we prayed. That prayer, till now, I'm not going to lie to you, my son has never had seizures. Of course, minus the prayer, we also did all the other medical aspect of it. But again, I believe strongly that it was because I had these people behind me that it was very, very easy for me. I'm also grateful to Mama Adeleye. Mama Adeleye, at one of the points that Ogolua Pharaoh had his seizures, she gave a microfinance bank a land property for me to be able to get a loan, so that I'm able to buy some of the supplement that my son needed. So I had these women behind me. And I also have some of my colleagues at work at my former real estate company back then. And they were like pillars of strength for me. So I am here because of those people. I am here because, I had them to cry to. I had a shoulder to rest on. So I wasn't alone, totally alone. It was like God just blessed me with strangers to make the journey easy for me. It cushioned the effect of having financial downtimes, of having these emotional roller coasters. They were there. They were like rocks for me. So I am really, really grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you that you also have this opportunity to publicly acknowledge the support system. And I know that sometimes, friends can be family, and strangers will just open their heart to you. And I know the family are also important, because there are families who will be, family has been a support and a rock for me in everything I have done. Juma, I know you've spoken about your husband, but I also want you to talk about the support system in the community, your community, your faith, your network. How did this shape your journey? Was it negative? Was it positive? You need to unmute yourself, Juma.
My journey, especially faith-wise, has been very, very positive. See, Farid died last year on the 27th of Rajab, and 27th of Rajab is significantly in Islam is the night of Miraj. That was when the Prophet Muhammad was said to have ascended to heaven, and he came back with all the messages and all that. So I remember waking up that day and going into the car with my husband. We were on a journey. Farid died when I was not in the country. Farid died in my absence. So on that same day, I remember noting that date. And I even told my daughters, I said, today is 27th Rajab. Look up the meaning of this date. So some few hours later, when Farid died, and I was crying and I wanted to really come back, I tried to even change my flight. I couldn't. Then my dad told me that I was in the best place to pray for Farid. So you see, my faith and the faith and support of my family, the support of community, because Many people who came to my house that the day Farid died and he was buried, many, many. And so many people gave me the account that it couldn't have been better than what happened that day. If I was around, the number of human beings. My elder sister is known not to visit us, but she spent 3 days in my house, in my bedroom. I wasn't around. So you see, it was faith, and it was because of that community of help. And that is what mostly people do need. If you come into this kind of a problem, you need that support system. So I'm very, very happy that I've got that support system from my family, from my husband, from my children, down to the community, not just my immediate community, but the disability community as well. And they keep recounting, I mean, they were all there for me that day Farid died. I was not there, but when I saw videos and the pictures, it just goes to show you the kind of support system that over the years was built, all because someone decided to not hide that child somewhere for people not to know.
Thank you, Jumai. Bisola, I mean, from everything we have spoken here, we know that it can be very overwhelming. One of the questions I've asked Jumai a few times is, do you sleep at all? Because you mentioned cerebral palsy as the special need for Ogoluwa. Do you sleep at all? Do you rest at all? Your own mental well-being, can you, because caregiving, raising children that do not have special needs can be daunting. And I'm talking as a mother of two children. It can be very daunting. What did Ogoluwa Farahon? What did raising Ogoluwa Farahon teach you? How did you get the strength to keep going? How is it? Tell us about it. I'm even short of words. I don't know how to express myself, because there are times when the caregiving feels overwhelming. As I said, I have 2 other friends, and honestly, sometimes I just keep quiet. Sometimes I just think even my silence. Sometimes I'm wondering, what else can I do? And you take care of this child 24 hours. Do you sleep? Share moments that your child has given you the strength to keep going.
Okay, so the earliest years, when it was between the ages of 0 to 6, was the most horrid experience ever. Pardon me, I'm getting a bit emotional. That a mother would have to experience, because the seizures, the pain they are experiencing, and it's very overwhelming. I didn't really get much sleep during those periods at all. But again, I had the blessing of his younger brother. I had the blessing of his immediate younger brother. Ogoluwa Yimika was a blessing. He is a blessing to me, because that little boy was like, more than a father, a friend, a younger brother. He stood by me. Every time the brother is having a seizure, he was always the first person to know. Till now, I can travel, I can go anywhere. He knows what to do with his brother when his brother is having seizures. So we were able to build that sibling bond between him and his elder brother. If anything is happening to Pharaoh now, Ogoluwa Yimika would say, "Mommy, go and sleep. Mommy, don't worry. So, Mommy, don't worry, I got this," and he will be fine. But I started taking a bit of a break in 2018. When I would go out to study more, travel out to study more on special needs, and go back to school, to Unilab, to do 1 or 2 trainings in and out of Guinea. So because again, I had built that bond between himself and his brother. But again, it's I can't burden my younger son, because he's not responsible for his brother. So what I do is try to find a balance between it. And yes, it has taken me some times of not sleeping.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I'm saying thank you to you because your network is a bit unstable. So hopefully you can fix that. Jumai, I am coming to you now. Okay. Losing a child You know, you spent time, money, everything, everything you have, and you still lost Farid. I I can't put it into words because I don't know how it feels. You know, I'm your friend, so I could. In fact, if you remember, Jumai, I didn't speak to you for a while. I didn't know how. I told you that I don't know how to handle these things. I ran away, and I hope
Yeah.
I hope having this conversation would also make you understand that some of us are weak and we're not bold
Yeah.
when it comes to
Yeah.
things like this. So I want you
Yeah.
to share,
Yeah.
how have you coped with the grief and found moments of healing and purpose? What memories of Farid bring you comfort and remind you of his lasting impact? How do you cope? How do you cope with the grief? What have you been able to do?
Um, um, uh, uh, I guess my worst nightmare initially was I dying and leaving Farid um, in the care of uh, maybe his dad, his siblings,
Really?
and
Hold on a second.
just,
You said that your worst
yeah,
fear was you dying and leaving
yeah,
Farid, not being able to.
and leaving. No, no.
Okay.
Because the trajectory I was going was that, okay, I'm caring so well for him, and we're providing everything for him to be comfortable, to be well. I didn't want him to have malaria, so I'll always go to the hospital and say every 3 months, give me prophylaxis for him, because him being hard was always ill was always hard to handle. He has small veins, so it's always so hard to get a vein for any drip or injection. And if he's ill, from the first day, for it will not take even water. He won't take, and you won't eat. So it's something that was part of my anxiety. So I didn't want him to get ill. The first few years were in and out, in and out. I remember I said code blue at one point. The ambulance was just blaring because they had to spend almost 5 hours before they could get a vein down for it. He was unconscious. He was unconscious. So, but later, when I saw him growing and getting bigger and getting older, that's when they said, how do I do? How do I make people key into taking care of him? So at one point, I started withdrawing from him because I was imagining me not being alive and him being alive. If he gets too used to me, will he suffer looking for me and allowing others to look after him? When he became ill and he died, I didn't think at that time that I thought he would come out of it, but he didn't, and I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
It was something that I didn't really think will happen then, but it happened. He died at 22, and we had a good 22 years full of memories with Farid and all that. So it wasn't. All I was focused on was getting him independent, for him to be able to take water to drink by himself, for him to be able to go to the toilet by himself, even if he can't. He was just crawling at 22. He wasn't walking. He was just crawling. He couldn't feed very well. His hands, his own CP was a little bit high there. It wasn't the worst, but I've seen a lot of others as well. But I had hope. So, but when
Jemai,
he died,
I'm
yes,
going to
please.
interrupt you now because I know there was a time I asked you, how do you know when Farid needs anything? How would you know that he wants to eat? How would you know that he wants to go to the toilet? How would you know all of these things if you can't talk? How?
Initially, Farid was NG tube fed. I was taught how to put an NG tube down for him. Then he had a peg, and I was taught how to do that in case it comes out. So I always had a spare with me, even if I'm traveling, But then he started, when the one time the peg came out, and we tried to put it back in, but it didn't go back in. I think the doctor told me then, I think this is a sign for you. Now go and start trying him with food orally. And we started small, gently, gradually, and he started accepting. And then the guy he could eat for Africa. So if Farid was hungry, he will start screaming. He will be screaming in his hoarse voice because he had stridor, so his voice really changed. It isn't that childlike voice. It's very hoarse. So the minute you hear that, I said, it's either Farid is wet, his diapers needs to be changed, or he's hungry. And if once you go and that cup is in your hand, then he will start looking like that. You just know, oh, he's hunger. So I timed his feeding and I timed changing his diapers.
Thank you. Thank you. We have 5 minutes to go. Jumai, I'll come back to you because I want to later on, I'll come back to you to talk about what you have done with Farid and how you have been able to help other people who are also raising children with special needs. But this is for you, Bisola. Bisola, I recall you mentioned to me an incident where you went to the school and you saw how Ogoluwa Farahon was abused. You experienced it. So I want you to describe the challenges your child faced, how you've advocated for his needs and the needs of other children, and what advice you would give to other parents who are navigating similar challenges. I know that you took a bold step, but talk about that experience if you can in 2 minutes for me, 2 minutes, and what you have been able to do, out of that.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, so Ogoluwa Farahon was placed in a school, and I discovered that, like Madam Jumai rightly mentioned, right? Jumai, like she rightly mentioned, children with cerebral palsy are happy. They are always very smiley, bubbly. But I started noticing that my son was not smiling anymore. He wasn't as happy. Again, I started picking up on his very subtle cues when he was small. So I decided to just go and visit the school. And I got to the school and I looked around. I didn't see my son. I'm like, where is the boy I dropped here this morning? They said, yeah, madam said we should go and put him somewhere. I said, where did you go and put my son? Luckily for me, the owner of the school was not around. So they took me to the staircase, under the staircase where they use as a store, and they put him in a corner under the staircase and locked the door so that other parents will not know that they have such a child in the school. Meanwhile, we were paying more for this, so, more than every other parent to have my son in the school. So this was what battered Great Expectations Private School, because I remembered, because of that particular experience, I cried for 3 weeks. And after that 3 weeks, I went, I mentioned I'm a Christian, so I prayed, and then I started Great Expectations Private School as a preschool, that take care of children with special needs. So it's helped me to be able to navigate or transit into education. So I decided
where is Great Expectations Private School?
Great Expectations Private School is now in Ikorodu, Ibeshe, Ikorodu Road. So for every parent out there that has children, young children with disability, there are schools and centers that can help you with your children. I know sometimes we are not all strong. I
need to step in because I want Jumai to talk as well. So if you are listening anywhere, there is a school called Great Expectations Private School that Bisola had to set up. She had to establish because of the abuse that Ogoluwa was experiencing. 2 things on that school. If you have a child that is special needs, please consider taking them to that school. Number 2, if you're listening, please consider supporting the school. Any donation would help. Please consider supporting the school if you can. Thank you. Jumai, let me quickly come to you. As I said earlier, I'm aware that you support women and parents that are in your position. Tell us about the Farid Center.
Okay, the Farid Center, just like Ogoluwa's mom said, we set it up because when we were all going around and we were looking for help, Dr. Hilda Ebibo in Enugu told me, Mrs. Gimba, go back home, go and set up something like this for Farid, because it's going to be a lifelong issue for you. So do that, and for Farid and friends of Farid. And that's why we came back home to set up the Farid Center. And setting up the Farid Center, I've come in contact with many people within this community, had to bring their children. We are doing all the Fari Center is in Mina, actually. So we do that. We sit down. We initially we do a session with the parents, and that's where the counseling aspect comes in, because when we see these children, we don't see them alone. I tell most parents, you want to bring your child, it's either you're coming as a couple, or if you're not together, fine. But I would love to always see the two of you, because, and then you don't just tell, my son is this. I say, what's your son's name? He's someone, so I need his name. And then when you tell me his name, I say, okay, fine, bring him, but don't tell me about him. I want to see him. And they come in, and we map out IEPs or whatever, and we try to find out according to whatever it is we were able to find out. We're not doctors there, but we have doctors attached to the center who we can send parents to with their children in case it's something that needs medical attention. So they do that in hearing, hard of hearing, visual, because with tests, some issues get better, So when we do all that and we give them admission, they come to the center a few hours a day and they go home. I'm not a boarding facility. Many people will love that we are a boarding facility, but as the time has been going on and the work has been known to just not to the state and other entities as well, we are being called upon to help here and there, and the state government as well. It's been 12 years of trying to knock on their doors, but they are listening now. So we are setting up, even we are mainstreaming now in schools, because I need to see how the disability community can be well taken care of. The stigma needs to stop. So we're setting up, there's a program coming up, the RISE project, and we're making sure that at least schools mainstream.
Thank you. Let me quickly interrupt, because I have like a few seconds to go. How do you get funding? How do you get support? Quick, please. Quick one.
We charge fees at the center, but it's so minimal. It's very minimal. But aside from that, many individuals have been coming to help us here and there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. If you're listening again, the Farid Center was established after Farid, Jumai's son that is sadly late now. Please support whichever way you can. Aisha Gober, thank you for your comments. The sights, size, and sounds of stigma are real. The change has to start with you and yours. No one should pretend it's simple, because it's hard. And Sherifa Taliat Arafat, absolutely, there is need for spiritual support, for mental strengthening and well-being. Dear Jumai and Bisola, thank you. I'm deeply grateful for your courage and openness in sharing your journey as parents of special needs. Thank you to everybody that has listened, to the producer Miracle Philip, engineer Michael A.K. Paul, Hillary. Thank you for your assistance as well. The discussion on special care, extra love, is both deeply personal and universally impactful. My name is Toun Okewale Sonaiya. Thank you very much on TounTalks. Jumai, thank you. Thank you. Bisola,
thank you for having us.
Too. Thank you for great expectations. Well. Thank you for great expectations. Private school, thank you for the Farid Center. Have a lovely day. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks to all our listeners. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bisola.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. When I wake up in the morning, I see your lovely face. Your cheeks like butter, honey from a teacup. You take my breath away. Your pretty little fingers so tender, like petals from the morning.